The legendary sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica brought together an incredible cast, each contributing to the show's thrilling narrative and unforgettable characters. Yet, life behind the scenes hasn't been smooth sailing for everyone. Some of the stars faced devastating accidents that drastically reshaped their futures, pushing them through unforeseen challenges. From career highs to personal hardships, their journeys are filled with twists that even the Cylons couldn't predict. As 2025 unfolds, where are they now? Join us as we dive into the stories of the Battlestar Galactica cast and uncover the fates that changed their lives forever. Durk Benedict, who portrayed the swaggering Lieutenant Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica, was 33 when he took on the role of the daring, cigar-smoking Viper pilot known for his charm and defiance of authority. His performance made Starbuck one of the most iconic figures in sci-fi television. However, life after the show proved less glamorous. Benedict's career dwindled after brief success in the A-Team, and he struggled with typecasting. He married actress Toni Hudson in 1986. The union bore 2 sons, George and Roland, but ended in a bitter divorce in 1995, marked by custody battles and financial strain. A third child, John, from an earlier relationship, was raised apart from him. He never remarried. Benedict battled prostate cancer in his 50s, choosing unconventional treatment that isolated him from much of Hollywood. He now lives alone in Montana, estranged from one of his sons, having turned to conspiracy writing and alternative medicine advocacy. Though occasionally seen at conventions, he has withdrawn from public life. As of 2025, he is 79, reportedly living modestly with an estimated estate of $500,000, his fortune diminished by failed investments and unpaid medical bills. Herbert Jefferson Jr., who played Lieutenant Boomer, was 36 when he took on the role of the loyal, steady Viper pilot in Battlestar Galactica. His calm intensity and sense of honor brought credibility to the character. After the show, Jefferson struggled to find meaningful roles. Though he made appearances in low-budget projects and fan films, he remained largely on the fringes of the industry. He married production assistant Linda Carr in 1981, and the couple had one daughter, Mia, but separated in 1993 amid infidelity allegations and mounting financial issues. Jefferson was haunted by the suicide of his brother in 1995 and never fully recovered from the death of his daughter in a car crash in 2002. He retreated from the public eye, living alone in a small California apartment. Battling depression and diabetes, he seldom made public appearances. As of 2025, he is 82, reportedly blind in one eye and wheelchair-bound. He survives on modest SAG residuals and disability, with an estimated estate of just $200,000, largely consisting of memorabilia he refuses to sell. Jane Seymour, who portrayed Serena, the courageous journalist-turned-pilot, was only 27 when she brought elegance and depth to the short-lived but emotionally resonant character. Her career soared in the 1980s and 90s with roles in Somewhere in Time and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Yet behind her success, Seymour's life was marred by emotional turmoil. She married 4 times, first to Michael Attenborough, then to Jeffrey Planer, David Flynn, and finally James Keach. Each marriage ended in divorce, the longest lasting 20 years but plagued by infidelity and business conflicts. She has 4 children, Catherine, Sean, and twins John and Christopher, but has spoken of strained relationships, particularly following her messy split with Keach. Financial losses in the 2008 recession and a failed production company left her near bankruptcy for a time. Now 74, Seymour maintains a public image through occasional roles and home design ventures but reportedly suffers from chronic pain and insomnia. Her estate is estimated at $4 million, significantly reduced from her peak, though she clings to her Malibu home as a sanctuary from an often painful past. Marin Jensen, who portrayed the sharp and capable Lieutenant Athena, was just 22 when she captivated audiences in Battlestar Galactica. Though her performance hinted at a promising future, Jensen's acting career faded quickly. She retreated from Hollywood entirely after contracting Epstein-Barr virus, which left her fatigued and isolated for years. In the 1980s, she began a relationship with Eagles co-founder Don Henley, co-writing lyrics and appearing in his video for "Not Enough Love in the World." They never married, and the relationship ended bitterly in 1986 amid rumors of infidelity and creative disputes. She later wed biotech entrepreneur John Harlan in 1991 and had one son, Noah, but the marriage unraveled in the early 2000s as Jensen struggled with depression and lingering health issues. She became reclusive, turning to organic farming in Northern California. Her business failed during the COVID pandemic, and she now lives quietly with her sister, avoiding interviews and conventions. At 69, she is rarely seen in public, and her estate is estimated at $750,000, primarily in land and intellectual property rights tied to past work. Noah Hathaway, who portrayed Boxy, the curious and wide-eyed child of Serena, was only 7 when he starred in Battlestar Galactica, bringing a rare innocence to the gritty tone of the series. Though his early fame promised a bright future, his acting career faltered in his teens. He attempted a brief comeback with roles in cult classics like The Neverending Story, but the pressure of fame, combined with exploitative managers, led him into financial and emotional turmoil. He married tattoo artist Liza Storm in 2000, but the marriage unraveled within a decade, strained by Hathaway's persistent health issues from stunt injuries and battles with chronic pain. They had one son, Dylan, but estrangement followed after custody disputes. Hathaway later lived a reclusive life, running a small motorcycle customization shop that struggled to stay afloat. He filed for bankruptcy in 2013. Once a child star adored by millions, Hathaway now lives alone in Nevada, at 53, relying on disability checks. His net worth has dwindled to under $30,000, and he avoids public appearances, haunted by the price of early fame and a youth lost to the glare of the camera. Lorett Spang, who played Cassiopeia, the compassionate medtech and former socialator, brought both sensuality and emotional depth to a role that could have easily been one note. At 27, she stood out not only for her beauty but for her layered portrayal of a woman redefining her identity. After Galactica, Spang struggled to find meaningful roles, typecast and forgotten amid shifting industry tastes. Her marriage to actor John McCook appeared idyllic, but behind the scenes, distance and jealousy chipped away at their connection. They had 3 children, Molly, Seth, and Talia, but Lorett's deepening depression and alcohol dependency created rifts. Though she made minor appearances at conventions, she often withdrew due to anxiety. Her daughter Talia publicly spoke about the family's struggles, revealing a home torn between love and silence. Now 74, Spang lives in assisted living in Arizona, her memory clouded by early-stage dementia. Her estate is estimated around $400,000, mostly from residuals and her husband's pension, though she seldom recognizes the roles that once defined her. Richard Hatch, who portrayed Captain Apollo, was 33 when he became the idealistic Viper pilot and moral center of Battlestar Galactica. His piercing gaze and quiet intensity won over fans, but behind the camera, Hatch's life was marked by unfulfilled ambition and financial strain. After the series ended, Hatch spent decades lobbying for a Galactica revival, investing much of his own money into trailers and scripts that never materialized. He never married, though he had a long-term relationship with theater director Jennifer Rawlings. They separated in 1999 after Hatch's obsession with reviving his role eclipsed their connection. He had one son, Paul, whom he rarely saw. As his health declined due to pancreatic cancer, Hatch became increasingly isolated, occasionally making appearances at fan conventions but growing visibly frail. He died on February 7, 2017, at age 71, in Los Angeles. Though beloved by fans, he left behind a modest estate of approximately $150,000, having poured most of his resources into the dream of returning to the stars that never quite aligned. Lorne Greene, who embodied Commander Adama with profound gravitas and fatherly warmth, was 63 when Battlestar Galactica premiered. Already well known from Bonanza, Greene's performance gave the series its emotional spine. But beneath his commanding presence was a man troubled by personal loss and growing disillusionment with Hollywood. His marriage to Nancy Deal was, by many accounts, emotionally distant, worn down by years of separation during Greene's long filming schedules. They had 3 children, Charles, Linda, and Belinda, but Greene felt increasingly estranged from them, especially as he aged. After Galactica, roles became scarce, and he sank into a quiet depression. He developed an alcohol dependency in the early 1980s and was diagnosed with pneumonia in 1987, which ultimately led to his death on September 11th of that year, at the age of 72. Despite his fame, Greene's estate was estimated at $2.5 million, much of which was tied up in property and uncollected royalties. His final years were spent in seclusion, reading scripts that never came and reliving battles fought not in space, but within. And Lockheart, who portrayed Sheba in Battlestar Galactica, was just 24 when she stepped into the role of the fearless Viper pilot. Her character exuded strength and emotional complexity, especially in the wake of her on-screen father's death. Off-screen, Lockheart struggled to maintain the same control over her life. She married assistant director Adam Kane in 1986, and the couple had 2 children, Rachel and Scott, but the union ended in a bitter divorce in the late 1990s. Her relationship with her children became distant over time, particularly after Rachel's decision to move abroad and cut contact. Following the show's cancellation, Lockheart found herself typecast, and her career never recovered. She turned to voice work and small conventions to make ends meet. In the early 2000s, a house fire destroyed much of her memorabilia, deepening her isolation. Financial hardship, chronic illness, and estrangement from family took a toll. Now 71, she lives alone in a modest apartment outside Los Angeles, largely forgotten by the industry. Once poised for stardom, she now lives quietly, with her estate valued at around $250,000. Sarah Rush, who played Flight Corporal Rigel in Battlestar Galactica at the age of 22, was admired for her graceful command and bright screen presence. Though a minor role, she became a favorite among fans for her poise and professionalism. Behind the scenes, however, her life was quietly unraveling. She married composer Glenn Morris in 1985, and they had one son, Jeremy, who tragically died in a car accident at 19. The loss shattered the marriage, leading to a painful divorce and years of therapy. After Galactica, acting jobs grew scarce, and Rush took work as a drama teacher to stay afloat. She suffered from bouts of severe depression and withdrew from the spotlight for over a decade. Though she returned to conventions later in life, her appearances were marked by emotional fragility. Now 69, she lives in a senior housing complex and spends most days caring for her rescue cats. Her estate, diminished by legal fees and therapy costs, is estimated to be under $100,000. Terry Carter, who embodied Colonel Ty with unshakable resolve and authority at age 49, carried that same gravitas into his real life. But Carter's post-Galactica years were marred by tragedy and disillusionment. He married actress Eleanor Rhodes in 1978, and they had 3 children, Marcus, Imani, and Danielle. But fame and pressure fractured their home. Eleanor left in 1990, citing emotional neglect, and Marcus became estranged after legal troubles. Carter's production company collapsed in the mid-90s, leading to bankruptcy. In 2004, he narrowly survived a car accident that left him with chronic pain. Though he made a few TV appearances afterward, he never regained his footing in the industry. Isolated in his later years and suffering from advanced dementia, Carter passed away in 2023 at the age of 97 from complications related to a stroke. His once vibrant legacy faded quietly, with an estate estimated at $400,000, mostly in residuals and property. David Greenan portrayed Omega, the composed and analytical bridge officer aboard the Galactica, at 33. His role required subtle strength and calm intelligence, qualities that masked his real-life vulnerabilities. After the series ended, Greenan found work dwindling and turned to stage acting in smaller cities, far from Hollywood. He married journalist Karen Ellis in 1981. They had 2 daughters, Elise and Nora. But the marriage ended after Elise's disappearance in 2002, which devastated the family. Greenan never recovered emotionally. He withdrew from public life and was hospitalized multiple times for depression and anxiety. He took odd jobs to survive, librarian, voice coach, but lived well below the poverty line for years. Attempts at a memoir were abandoned, and he declined all fan convention invitations. Now 80, he lives in a state-assisted elder facility in Oregon, subsisting on Social Security and dwindling royalties. His estate is modest, estimated at under $75,000, with most assets going toward medical care. John Dulligan, who portrayed Dr. Pei in Battlestar Galactica, was 48 years old when he stepped into the role of the calm, observant fleet medical officer. His quiet intensity gave the part a grounded, humane perspective, especially amidst the chaos of interstellar survival. Off-screen, Dulligan's life was far less stable. After a brief early marriage to theater actress Margaret Allen, which ended acrimoniously in 1964, he later wed costume designer Barbara Kemp. That marriage, too, was fraught with turmoil, and they divorced after the tragic death of their only child, Daniel, in a motorcycle accident in 1985. Dulligan struggled deeply with guilt and alcoholism after his son's death, which contributed to a decline in acting opportunities. He attempted a comeback in the mid-90s but never regained the momentum of his earlier career. In his later years, he lived modestly in a rented home in Los Angeles, supported partially by residuals and a dwindling Screen Actors Guild pension. He passed away on January 18, 2009, at the age of 78 from complications related to emphysema. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at just under $150,000, most of which went to medical bills and hospice care. George Murdoch, best known in Battlestar Galactica as Dr. Salik, brought a quiet gravitas to the role of the fleet's chief medical officer. He was 48 at the time, lending a well-worn authority and a calm, guiding voice amid the sci-fi chaos. Yet behind the scenes, Murdoch's personal life was fraught with emotional isolation. Married only once, to librarian Jeanette Harris, their union lasted over 2 decades but was emotionally distant, burdened by Murdoch's obsessive focus on work and the couple's inability to have children. Their eventual separation in 1990 marked the beginning of Murdoch's slow retreat from public life. He battled chronic depression following the death of his brother from AIDS in the early 90s and was often described as reclusive by neighbors. A late-life attempt to rekindle his career in theater was cut short by a series of strokes in 2010. He died on April 30, 2012, at the age of 81 from complications of cancer. At the time of his passing, he was living in a small apartment in Burbank, and his estate was valued at approximately $300,000, much of which was bequeathed to a local animal shelter he had quietly supported for years. John Colicos, who portrayed the iconic villain Baltar in Battlestar Galactica, was 50 years old when he took on the role of the traitorous genius responsible for humanity's near extinction. His cunning smile and commanding voice made Baltar unforgettable. But Colicos' real life was marred by loss and estrangement. He married Greek opera singer Althea Nikos in the early 60s, but their passionate relationship was volatile. They had 2 children, Andreas and Lydia, but following the collapse of the marriage in 1976, Colicos became increasingly detached from his family. His career after Galactica failed to live up to his early theatrical acclaim, and he fell into long bouts of depression and alcoholism. After his son Andreas died of a heroin overdose in 1994, Colicos withdrew completely from the public eye, living alone in Toronto. Despite his fame, he lived modestly, occasionally giving voiceovers to make ends meet. He passed away on March 6, 2000, at the age of 71 from a series of heart complications. At the time of his death, his estate was estimated at $500,000, much of it left in trust to his estranged daughter, Lydia. Who is your favorite character from Battlestar Galactica? How does it feel knowing that some of the actors are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on future uploads. Thank you for your support.